Punching the Gas with
Joel Craig, Joelcraig. Oh, well, I'm 60 years old. I've been out of the game now for, since 1992. Still do a few marathons and I haven't done any triathlons, but I still do some marathons and some running, stay in shape. Was raised here in Las Cruces, graduated from Mayfield High School, worked for American Linen Supply for 18 and a half years, just got to know a lot of the history of the town, and I've been here for a long time, all the way from first grade till present. You know, I was always real small for my age, all through school, and it seemed like I was always proving myself, or thinking I had to prove myself. And junior high rolled around, and that's probably where I learned to run, because I was always being chased by the bullies. And I just always had a love for sports. I played baseball, rode the bench for 5 years before I ever started, so I was too stubborn to quit. Had always wanted to box. I remember as a little kid sitting on my dad's lap watching the Friday night fights and then him telling me stories about when he boxed in Colorado back when he was a kid. And that just always kind of stuck with me. And I guess I was 16. It was my junior year in high school. I was kind of on that little cusp where I was either going to go one direction or the other. I was kind of hanging with some not so good guys, and I also had some really good friends. And my dad and I were having a talk after I'd gotten in trouble one night, and he said, you know, last year you played baseball. You're not playing ball this year. You know, you kept your grades up and stuff. What do you want to do? I said, well, I'd like to box. And of course, he boxed back in the late 1930s, back when, you know, there were no headgear. They sparred with the same gloves they fought with, and they were cauliflower ears and busted noses and stuff. And he's like, oh no, I'm not going to let you box. That's just too rough a sport. Yeah. He goes, what would you like to do in replacement? And I said, well, I had a motorcycle that I'd thrown my paper routes on, and I'd stripped it down a little bit and rode it out in the dirt, and been reading motocross action, and thought, you know, I could be a motocrosser. I want a motocross. And believe it or not, he said okay. And I think we bought me a little Suzuki 100, and I had my first race April of my junior year. And the very first heat, I fell, I think 3 times during the race, and was in dead last with about 3 corners to go, and I just rode as hard as I could, and I passed one guy and finished second to last. And my dad came up to me and said, son, I think with that drive, you'll be okay in this sport. Well, the next heat, I think I finished middle of the pack, so I did okay. Well, 11 months later, my senior year, I was getting my pro license and headed to my first pro race in Phoenix. So in 11 months, I went from riding novice to running with the big boys, and then I got my professional license, raced in the New Orleans Superdome, the Houston Astrodome, Florida, California, Montana, Utah, Arizona, Texas, went all over the country racing motorcycles. It's kind of funny because at 21 I went to qualified for a national in Denver, Colorado, and on the way back home I was thinking, man, this is getting to be really expensive. I've always wanted to box, and I'm almost 22 years old. My dad can't stop me now. I think when I get back, I'm gonna box. And I don't know what made me think at 22 I could just jump back into the ring. But yeah, I'd had 3 knee surgeries, 1 on my hand, 1 on my elbow, 2 concussions, stitches in my lip and in my eye. Years later, my dad and I kind of laughed about it, because in boxing, all I suffered was a couple of broken noses. I said, maybe you should let me box, Dad.
Yeah, right.
But at 21, I started training to box. I went down, found the Burks, and talked to the Burks. And Sammy Burke said, well, you're kind of what we're looking for, but you know you'll never be able to fight novice because you're already over 21 years old. So you'll be fighting guys with experience right off the bat.
Jeez.
And so I started boxing, but as far as getting into those type of sports, I guess I did it just because I always wanted to prove to the guy next to me that that I had as much guts or more than him. It was always I guess a kind of I was a little insecure. I needed to do something to be better than the next guy. And I was the nutsy kid who, while they were talking about jumping off the kid's roof into the pool, I did it. I always had to prove myself, it seemed like. But the motocross kind of gave me the confidence to keep on trucking. With the motocross, it would have had to have been the New Orleans Superdome. I qualified for it was a semi-pro race the day after the big boys ran. I was a registered pro, but I was a pro novice. So I was pretty excited about that. And you had 2 heats. You had to be in the top 10 in each heat. Of course, fast heat gets first choice on the line, slow heat gets second. Well, I finished 9th in the slow heat, so I got 18th choice on the line. Got a terrible start in my qualifier and everything. And so I was lined up way to the outside. And I had this habit of, I would go watch the starts of other races and watch the timer, watch the gate guy and the board person. And I felt like I had his timing down. And so when the board went sideways, I counted 1001, 1002, and I dropped the clutch. For a split second, I thought, oh, I dropped it too soon because they're all individual gates. Mine fell just as my wheel hit it. Well, I got down to the end of the first turn. I had to let off because I was way on the outside, but when I let off, they kind of blew by me. I hit the inside corner and I came out in second place out of the turn and looked up just in time to see the guy in the lead falling. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in the lead in the New Orleans Superdome. I'm winning the Open Expert class. I'm in first place. And I did something I'd never ever done before. I started riding to protect my lead. I didn't ride to win. I didn't ride like I normally rode. I got conservative. Well, lo and behold, this kid from Houston's coming through the pack like a madman. And with about 3 turns to go, I missed a shift going over a jump, and he got me. I finished second place, which was, I made the podium, but I had it. I lost. I had the win in the New Orleans Superdome. I got second. But so that was a bittersweet, but that was probably one of my coolest motocross moments. My neatest moment in boxing was when I was going to make my pro debut. I got to fight here at the Pan American Center, same place where I'd watched the Aggies play ball, and I got my high school diploma, and I remember that feeling when they called me, Craig, you're up, and coming down the walkway and down the steps and into the arena. It was just all of a sudden hearing your name and stuff. Then bringing us to Ring Center and the bell ringing, and 2 minutes and 22 seconds later it was over. I'd knocked the guy down 3 times and the ref stopped the fight. So that one was pretty awesome all the way around. That was a win-win. But those were probably my two most awesome moments. Going to the Nationals, meeting Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Virgil Hill, all of our Olympians that year. That had to be second. My worst injuries, of course, came from motocross. When I was 18, I went over the bars in Santa Fe, and my helmet hooked on my crossbar, and I broke my nose, bent the metal bar to the triple clamps. I think I did more damage with my face than it did to my face. But then in Clovis, I got knocked unconscious. I took a wheel to the face, and that one I was out for 15-20 minutes. That was kind of a scary moment. Apparently I wasn't awake to know how scary it was. Tore up my knee. That was a simple little 5-mile-an-hour, caught my knee between my handlebars and my gas tank in a little tight turn. That didn't seem like anything, but wound up having to have surgery. Oh, wow. But the two that were the worst was probably the broken nose and the getting knocked out. And I had 3 concussions during my time of racing. 10 years ago, I'd have had a whole list of things that had changed in my career, but being 60 years old and looking back and saying I wouldn't change a thing. Oh, wow. Had I not done what I did, it helped me make me the person I was. Had I not boxed when I did, I wouldn't have met Lorenzo Saiz, a gentleman that I wound up being able to give a kidney to because he had lupus and I matched with him. I never met him. There's just a number of different reasons I wouldn't, good, bad, otherwise, I wouldn't change a thing.